Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Wealth Boot Camp, and I was thinking about black people in depression, and I know a lot of people suffer from depression. African Americans, we tend to be hit hard with depression. A lot of black women are hit with depression, and they unfortunately are forced to sort of carry this banner of the strong black woman, which can keep some of them from getting the help that they need. A lot of black men I know suffer from depression, largely due to marginalization from the economic system and the educational system, the criminal justice system, etc. And the first thing I want to say about depression is make sure if you're feeling it, get help. Go online, do some research on how to treat depression. Go see a therapist to talk about it, to see what environmental factors can be modified. Maybe it could be something like the outlook. Are you optimistic or pessimistic? Are you getting enough sleep? What are your diet and exercise looking like? And then if worse comes to worse, consider medication. But don't let medication be the first resort. We live in a society that over medicates people. In fact, I just saw a study that said that the death rates of white males, of middle-aged white men between say 35 and 55, have actually increased because of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and liver disease. And when I saw that, it linked my mind back to college student culture, for example, that encourages excessive alcohol consumption. And I'll see a lot of kids, mostly the white kids. I mean, the black kids drank too, but when I was in Syracuse, I remember the white kids drank at a level that I just knew was blatantly unhealthy. I said it's not normal to drink until you throw up every weekend. Oh, or to throw up green stuff because your stomach lining is being destroyed, or put yourself in all these crazy vulnerable situations where horrible things can happen. I said, this ain't normal. But that's the thing. If we see everybody else doing it, we think it's okay, but it's really not okay. So when it comes to drugs and alcohol and things like that, just be careful, be balanced with it. I'm not judging you one way or the other if you drink. I'm not saying that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying be very careful with it. Now, moving on to a similar topic in terms of depression, a lot of black people are depressed because we hate our lives. They, like rappers always talk about dope boys being caught in the trap. I know a lot of middle class educated Negroes who are caught in the trap, where we go to work every day and we feel like we are walking into enemy territory. We are walking into a hostile environment where we feel consistently disrespected every single day, dismissed every single day, disregarded. We're not getting the raises and promotions we deserve, not getting the salaries that we deserve, not getting the jobs that we deserve. You went to school and you went $80,000 in debt to learn how to do one thing, but you can't get a job in that field, so you're doing something totally different. Um, I think that this is something that has to be talked about and confronted. I knew a brother one time who was so depressed on his job. He said that the depression and the stress from the racism literally depleted my testosterone levels. And I said, it did what? And he said, it zapped my testosterone to where it was almost non-existent. I gained weight. I couldn't get out of bed. I had no motivation. And I was thinking, man, I mean, you hear about terms like emasculating. I mean, you see a lot of black men that get emasculated in the workplace because they don't want to appear to be threatening and all these other things. And basically don't be strong, because when you're strong, you're a threat, you're a competitor. And the white man doesn't really want to be around a competitor. That's why women and gay black men do really well in corporate America, because it all honestly comes down sometimes to who the white man can have sex with, right? And this ain't really a racism thing a lot of times. This is just a human thing, right? And so black men, by positioning ourselves as intelligent, ambitious competitors, sometimes will be eliminated from opportunity because we haven't gone through the care to properly assimilate to a white supremacist system. And what makes black men struggle even more is that we're ill-equipped to exist outside of the parameters of the economic system. It's like it's like living in the jungle, where white people have this beautiful camp where they've got housing and food and plenty of like warm shelter and everything else and all the things you need, and we're pushed outside of the camp and we don't know how to build our own camp, so we're out in the wilderness freezing, can't eat, trying to sleep under leaves every night because you don't know how to make a blanket, right? And so white supremacy is sustained, and this consistent emasculation of the black male is sustained by the white man's commitment to oppressing us, which isn't going to change anytime soon, and B, our lack of commitment to preparing ourselves to survive in our own economic system. Many of us don't choose freedom because we can't choose freedom. We don't feel equipped to choose freedom. We don't know how to survive without the help, without support from the white man. We don't know how to live without his infrastructure. We have been integrated into their system in such a way that integration comes with expectations of consistent subordination. And so if you're not willing to tolerate that subordination, then they just tell you to get your black ass out in the street. And so what I would argue is this. A lot of depression that we experience comes from a lack of how can I say this, self-determination, in the sense of not determined in terms of being like excited or ambitious. I'm talking about self-determination in the sense of controlling your environment. Many of us are depressed because we are really in that trap. You know, when they talk about rappers and dope boys being in the trap, like I said, I know a lot of black people who went to Harvard and Yale and you know and studied the right things and made good grades, who are also in the trap. And so I think the question you have to ask yourself is, am I living as a free black person, or am I in the trap? And if you're in the trap, how do you get out of the trap? I mean, do you feel like you have the choice, or the right to choose to not be in the trap? Do you have, I mean, is freedom an option for you, or is freedom something that frightens you, or is freedom an option that's never been presented to you? Many of us from birth are not presented the option of being free, and depression is directly linked to a lack of control. They did an experiment with rats where they found that rats who could control their environment were less depressed than rats who could not control their environment. And they can measure depression with the serotonin levels in their brain. So they would shock them over and over again. And the rats who could make the shocking, electrocution, or make the shock stop, they were less likely to be depressed than the ones who could not. So us as black people, in many cases, if we feel that we're in an environment that we can't control, you're far more likely to have to endure depression and stress, which can manifest itself maybe in alcoholism, domestic violence, all kinds of other unhealthy side effects, heart disease, strokes, all kinds of things that are just not good for us. So I can just talk about my journey on this and say that, you know, when I was dealing with that stress, when I was at Syracuse University and I was dealing with the disrespect that I received, basically because I was doing all this work in the black community, and people kind of saw it as like this. They're like, oh yeah, that extra stuff you're doing with black people, that's nice, but that's not really scholarly. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? This is the most important work I've ever done. I'm changing people's lives. Are you changing people's lives? When you wrote that research paper that's going to be in some journal that nobody's ever going to read, whose lives did you change with that? You know, when you figure it out, so that some sort of accounting amortization system leads to higher stock prices than the other system. I mean, seriously. I mean, a lot of that work, if you really measure it and you follow the trail and you say how many people's lives were really changed by the fact that you did the 2,488th study on this tiny little topic, how many lives were really affected by this? You know, so we got into these arguments. Those are the fights that we got into at Syracuse. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm not backing down. But the thing about it is, I also understood as I got older that you can't run up in the white man's house and talk smack and expect not to be punished for that. So eventually, you know, we had to part ways. But you know what I had to do, and this was a spiritual process, I had to make the decision to choose freedom. And to me, choosing freedom was almost a little bit like getting married. It's like you can marry person A who looks good, but they she abuses you, and she's is a bad person and is disrespectful and evil, but she's beautiful. Or person B who may not be as pretty, or it may be rough around the edges, or as a fixer upper type situation, but this person will respect you, this person will treat you well, this person will make you happy. So I chose to marry person B, which was freedom. And I chose freedom, and I hit a point of no return, because when you get in there, at least in my field, and you're probably in your profession too, if you run your mouth a little too much, then eventually, you can be blackballed and stuff like that. So, when I used to apply to white universities, they would think I was great until they Googled me, and then suddenly they'd be like, oh, well, we decided to go in a different direction because you weren't quite a fit. But it's funny, because in many of these cases, many of these universities, they were the schools that would say things like, well, we don't hire any black people because we can't find any qualified black people. But I learned from some of the best in the world in my field. So what you have to understand is that statement, when you hear your manager or your employer say, we can't find qualified black people, that's a slap in your face, because what they're really saying to you is that there's this job that's been done by thousands of white men, but we can't find a Negro on the planet who is smart enough to do this job. Almost like we can't find a single monkey who knows how to read at a third grade level, right? Why is it that we accept this idea that people will inherently tell us that we're inferior? No, no, don't fall for that nonsense. Here's what's happening, and this is just being real. The white man built his system for him and his children. He didn't build it for you. You're an uninvited guest in somebody else's house, but because of political correctness, you somehow believe that you belong there. You somehow believe that they really want you there. That if you behave well enough, they're going to treat you just like they treat family members. And then you don't understand why your black ass is out in the street and everybody else is inside the house warm and eating good. So I'm not trying to be pessimistic here. I'm just being realistic. You need to look at the way things are and not the way things are supposed to be. So once I chose freedom in my life, it was just like getting married. When you get married, you choose something for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, for better for worse, till death do you part. So I knew that a life of freedom meant that I would be so much happier. I would be able to be a man. But I also knew some days would be tough. I knew that, there would be some anxiety there. There would be some concern about, how we going to pay the bills, how we going to make sure we do this, that, and the other. Because doing business with black folks can be make you a little nervous sometimes. Because, like, for example, when we do the Black Wealth Boot Camp, even though we charge a price that's far less than what you will pay at a university. I mean, Syracuse University tuition, where I used to teach, is $40,380 a year. But in the boot camp, we charge $299. And so even though you lower the price, and I would do it for free if I could, but I have single parents and things like that work for me, and I have to write checks constantly to help people feed their kids. I have people that come to me with all kinds of issues, and I have to be able to give them something. And so if I'm out here doing everything for free, which I was for a while, what happens is I end up disrespecting the people that work with me because I can't give them what they need. You understand? And I don't want my people having to go back and beg the white man in order to pay their bills. So doing business with black folks, you don't know exactly what it's going to be like. And so the anxiety was there. But the thing is that I've never been happier in my life. I feel so good every day. I mean, and I'm telling you, it's like having a drug that keeps you high 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for years at a time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say, I mean, anything's possible, but to this point, I have been so unbelievably, disgustingly happy that I can't explain. I can't even put it into words. I can't go backwards. I can't go work for other people now. I'm not going. No, I don't care. Even if I was offered, like, a lot of people that do what I do, they want to like get a show. They're like, oh well, what if CNN gave you your own show, and what would that be like? And I would tell people, like, I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. I probably wouldn't. I mean, unless they made the terms really flexible, because I like being free. And so I can just tell you, I think freedom is a choice, and it's available to you, and you can survive without help from your oppressor. Don't sort of commit to this abusive relationship where your partner has told you, if I don't want you, nobody will, because that's kind of what white America kind of tells you, that if you get blackballed, if you're in Hollywood and you're an actor who speaks out and you get blackballed, um, then well you'll never work in this town again, right? Well, you know what? Fuck your town. Like, no, I don't need to go. I don't need to work with you. You got Tyler Perry down there in Atlanta, building studios in Atlanta. Mark Harris lives around the corner from me in Chicago. He's in Inglewood running a film festival and bringing some of the biggest names in the country to Inglewood. Inglewood, by the way, is the place that's known for the violence, but he's making it known for something else. He's creating something there that is gonna be that's amazing and brilliant and powerful. He's made films. He's got a film this week called The Stock Exchange, or I think it's called Stock Options. Stock Options, that was on TV1 this week. So no, you have options. Freedom is a choice. You have the right to be free. In fact, that's your natural state of existence. I call it going business natural. Women talk about their hair going natural. I say freedom is your natural state of existence. Corporate slavery is not natural. And once you go free, you will never go back. I guarantee you. Once you go black, let's call it going black. Once you go black, you ain't never going back. So make the choice to be free. I think that's okay to do. And The Black Wealth Bootcamp, if you want to know, is I designed that to help with the mass exodus of black people from corporate slavery, to get off the corporate plantation. You can work with white people, but you don't have to work for white people. And there's a big difference. And working with somebody because you want to work with them is very different from working with someone because you have to work with them. Working with somebody in a situation of mutual respect is very different from working with somebody in a situation where you are naturally subjugated. So don't subjugate yourself. Don't feed into white supremacy. So that's all I really want to say. In case you want to sign up for the Black Wealth Bootcamp, you can do so at theblackwwealthbootcamp.com. That's theblackwwealthbootcamp.com. For 24 hours, now today is November 4th. For 24 hours until midnight November 5th, they're doing a sale, 30% off the cost of tuition. So that $299 price is actually $209 for the next, I guess, however many hours until midnight on the 5th. So if you get over there by then, you can sign up at a really good rate. Use the discount code HOLIDAY when you sign up. The discount code is HOLIDAY. All right, everybody, I'm about to get on out of here, and I love you guys so much, and I just, I had to keep it real. I was sitting here on my bed, and these thoughts were coming to my head, and I just wanted to share that. So I hope that this was helpful to you. Don't be afraid. Always be empowered. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.